Come on by and have a bite at the Crossroad Diner, where your spirit goes when it might be time to change direction. Hey, diners in the Crossroad Diner, we're glad to have you back. It's Monday again. As you can see, my buddy John is here, John Burnett, and he's built his office differently today. Today he's outside of a Starbucks, and you can see the traffic over. You'll be able to hear some of it too. Welcome, John.
Hey, good to be here. Yeah, sorry about the outside noise, but wherever you can work, that's just the life of a nomad. Finding a spot with decent internet is always a challenge, and here we are. I think it's going to be great.
Oh, me too. So last week, let's jump right into it. Last week, John kind of explained the notion of core value, and so what we wanted to do today is go through that exercise, give you another assignment, and we're going to do it kind of based on me. I took the exercise myself. I worked on the words. Now, John, you want to preface this before we start talking about my stuff?
Yeah, well, just quick note: if you didn't listen last week, be sure to go back and listen to it. The whole idea is identifying that core value, that thing that down inside you that means the most. And we're going to talk about that a little bit with Steve. But the importance of doing that, if we're here for a purpose, on purpose, created for a mission, identifying what is at the core of that is really, really important. So that's exactly where we're at here with step one, is identifying your core value.
Cool.
What was it like for you, Steve? What was it like going through that list?
Well, when you first sent it to me, and we talked about this last week, I said, who wouldn't want all of these things to be underlined and circled and what have you? And then you explained that there is a primary. There's something in here, and I thought, well, I've got a couple that I think are primary, but let me just see. And so I went through and underlined all of them that were really strong to me, very, very important to me, and I ended up with, I think, 10, 11, and then I went back and circled the ones that were really, really, really vital, very important. And then of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of those 6, I came up with authenticity, truth, honesty, and relationships being very critical. And I think that my focus is on authenticity.
I love it. I love the process. Did you go off page for any of your the initial values, or did you stay on page for everything?
I was on page.
Just to describe that for listeners, I mean, the point was that if I provided a list, if your values or the thing that you resonate with wasn't on that list, that you could go off page, go in, Google core values, or maybe you just already have. So I've got a friend, I can't remember if it's on your list or not. I think I did add it, but I had a friend that Curiosity was right in the middle of one of my coaching clients, but it wasn't on the list initially. I think I've added it because of him.
It is. It's in there.
He went off list to find that, and that may be what happens for you. In this case, sounds like you stayed right on page, which is great.
Yeah, I wanted to work with this. One of the reasons that I'm at this crossroads in my life right now, and am shifting into this kind of a gear. The only word that I would put on there that isn't on there is legacy. I think I'm at the place in my life where I want my having been here, the meaning of my having been here, to be of value to the ones in my closest circle and anybody whose path I cross. I want to leave a good legacy. And but I think that authenticity for me is the key to that, because the truth, the integrity, honesty, all of those are underpinning values that are necessary. I really thought between relationships and authenticity, though, because connectedness you've known since the day that we met. We were both in a conference on a Zoom call together, and your energy just attracted me, and I sent you a text, and we started talking and clicked like that. So being in relation to people who are in my tribe but I don't know it is very important to me.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, and acting on that was a big thing. So I love that piece, and we immediately, while we didn't even know each other, immediately authenticity started taking place. So it's one of my values. It's not my core, but vulnerability, I've been told, is a superpower of mine. So we clearly have that attraction was mutual and immediate, and then it played out as we got to know each other.
Right.
Good.
And so now, what do I do with this?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the optimal point there is, what do I do? I don't sit on it, right? So if you think about it, it's kind of like, to steal a little biblical phrasing, faith without works. So if you think about our core value as being the thing that we believe deep in our heart, we can believe something, we can value something at an immense level, but if we don't act on it, if there's nothing that we actually do, to steal your phrase, next, it is empty. It literally just sits there. And so the idea of step 2 of developing this mission statement, and recognizing, again, I want to just preface this as we've been talking about this. This isn't a perfect process. It is a process. It is it's programmatic in the way we form it. But as we go through it and as you live with it, you may alter it to make it even more your own, because it is your own. So this process that we're doing in developing this mission statement, you may end up going with what you created, and it's exactly verbatim the way you do it, but it also may morph as you go. Terminology of authenticity, some things like that. But the next step, go ahead before I keep going. You had a question?
Well, you were talking about, and we keep reinforcing this in all of the things with the people that we work with, is you're going to make it your own. But I would suggest that before you modify and slip off into doing your own thing, that you try to go through the process faithfully first, and then make your modifications from there, rather than saying, "Oh, that gives me an idea. I think I'll do this," because there may be value in the process that you don't see. That and I think one of the examples John and I decided to talk about today, talking about vulnerability, was the course where we met, where both of us, have talked a lot about it, thought a lot about it, but we haven't acted by following through on everything that they taught us to, or were trying to teach us to do, and we've started doing that now. So first trust his process and the outline, and then make it yours.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Such a great point, because there is going to be the temptation at any given moment. You probably experienced it, defining your core values. When you narrowed it down to 2 or 3, at that point, it's very difficult for us to say, well, I'm just going to have 2 or 3. I don't care what this sheet says. I'm just going to have 2 or 3. And then, go to the next one. And when you get to the next one, you're like, well, I'm just going to do it this way. All well and good, but you might find yourself I've worked with a lot of people, and the people that decide that that's what they're going to do, if I called them right now and said, hey, remind me what your mission statement is, they would say, well, I never finished that. Because you got to stick with the process, come up with a base mission statement. And it again, there's a strong likelihood it is what you stick with forever. If you give this process the time and attention it needs. But it also may morph and be a little more, personalized as you go. But trust, like you said, trust the process. Get there first, and then, hey, have your plan to take that vacation and do exactly what you're going to do. But once you get to that island or that destination, things may change a little bit. That's okay. But trust the process of getting there.
Yeah, it's like it's like getting to a base camp and having that base camp, and then doing day trips out from there. but get to the base, build the base camp first.
Yes. So as we go into step two is all about the action. And so, like Steve was talking about, we joined this program called Speaker Lab. We paid money to be a part of it, okay? And then we started the process, and then life hit. And Steve and I would still, we would get together, right? And we'd talk about things. But when we hung up in between weeks or sometimes multiple weeks, we weren't acting on what we were talking about. We weren't acting on what we were being taught. So we both have doubled down, literally within the last month. We both have doubled down. We've doubled down not only on our commitment to the program and the action we take each week, but we have accountability with each other to confirm that we are working that. Not in a way that we judge each other and shame each other if we're not doing it, but a way that we encourage each other because we know the outcome is going to be powerful. It's what we desire. And so action is one of the key elements in life, right? And it's definitely a key element when it comes to our core value. We have to be able to and committed to acting on that. So step two is it's a big old page full of verbs because verbs are action words. All right? And Steve, I think, might be about to show you that page. There we go. It's a bunch of them. I don't know how many are there. But I want to stress this the same way we did with the core value. That while that sheet has a whole bunch of words on it, a whole bunch of verbs on it, your verb may not be there. Feel free to go offline. Feel free to look beyond that sheet for what might be your action verbs. But the idea is very similar process. In fact, I'm just going to encourage you to follow Steve's lead. Steve, on the values, he underlined many, then circled a few, and then chose one. Same process here. As you go through here and you read through these verbs, and you may find some again off page, underline the ones that mean something to you, the things that ring true. Think about truisms. One of the truisms I love is the reality that God can't drive a parked car. And it's just a flippant statement, but man, when you think about the truth of it, if we aren't moving, we're just sitting there going, okay, God, what do you want me to do? He shows us when we start moving. But until we start moving, how is he going to show us? Is he just going to drop it in our head? And if we still don't move, there's no action behind it, nothing's going to happen. We got to start moving. Steve and I, again, we'll just use this speaker thing. We both are committed. We've been speakers, but we're moving towards the business of speaking, paid speaking. And as we do that, we have to be acting on that. One of the next steps we're moving into is starting to call people, starting to make connections. Without doing that, how do they even know we exist? How does somebody know John Burnett's available to hire to speak to their organization if John Burnett just sits in his room and updates his website? We've got to be acting. So we've got to be moving. Without that, our values are just really formless concepts. And so take time to go through this sheet. Steve, you were going to say something?
Well, and it was just endorsing what you're saying with a couple of stories. I think there are two phrases that have come into our lexicon that will lead you astray. One of them is ancient. The other one is just in the last couple of decades. One is, if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. That is not true. If you build it, they will come is the second one. That's the condensation of that idea. What is true is, if the world thinks you have built a better mousetrap, they will beat a path to your door. But that's marketing. The second sale that you will make is because it's a better mousetrap. So you got to do both. You got to be quality, and you have to be known. And so this process is helping. I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that John and I have both been speakers for a long, long time. The course that we're taking is about how to market that, how to put ourselves. We have made ourselves better mousetraps. Now we need to be known that way so that the folks who need us, we can provide value to. And because we are so experienced in what we've done, we got all in our head about that. And we haven't taken those out because we're great at speaking. We kind of suck at marketing. And so we don't want to do those things because they're not
It's
as much
ironic
fun.
since we both have backgrounds in marketing.
That's right. But I can market him and he can market me, but I don't market me that well. And he doesn't market him that well. So we're leaping that together. And I'm loving this process, really. I've taken a sneak peek at our next assignment. And, what I would urge all of you to do is to journal this process, not just get you a notebook, print these things, put them in the notebook, but also print a blank page and journal your internal experience as you're going through that. Because these values and these decisions and these actions it is a process. This is where you are now. And it will help you when you're in confusion to look back on this and start sorting out your why. Because it's where you were when you made the decision. You can validate that or you can expand it. So, John, you were about to walk us into the next piece.
Yeah, just as you go through that list, there's a lot of words. So think about as you're reading it, what excites you? What words, what verbs jump off the page as meaningful for you? I love the phrase, and it's in the instructions. What words get your heart beating? And then identify those words. If there's any off the sheet, like we said, add those. As you narrow down, write out what it looks like for you to be executing that. And I'll give you a great example, and I'll use me as an example, because inspire is the main verb for me, right? And so what happened is when I came down, I narrowed it down. I had two words that felt like they meant the same. And in fact, I'll just stop my story for a second and tell you, to help you narrow this down, look at words and see if you have two words that may mean the same thing and pick the one that has the most meaning to you. The example of that for me is I had motivate and I had inspire. Right. Motivate had this history for me around a guy named Zig Ziglar mainly, but other motivational speakers that I looked up to. And so motivational speaker, to motivate, meant something to me. But when I saw inspire, it felt like the same, but it just, so I started researching that. I ended up reading a book, and they described the reality that to motivate someone is to get them to do what you want them to do, and you have a stake in the outcome. You think about a college football coach that's making millions of dollars. They're motivating their players to be the best they can, yes, but they also have a personal gain for them being the best they can. To inspire is to inspire someone to do what's best for them, and you have no stake in the outcome. And I love that idea of inspiring people to what's best for them and not what's best for me. And so that's how I decided between those two words. So think about that as you work through it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other piece of that is motivate and inspire are like carrot and stick, and we're the donkey in the middle. Motivation is that stick behind you that you want to get away from in many cases. Inspire is the thing that you want, that you're moving toward.
That's good.
And
that's good.
I think that's very, very insightful on your part to realize that I don't think we both want to motivate, but we want to be inspirations more than we want to be co-beneficiaries with the people whose lives we touch.
Yeah. So as you go through this, and this is a big process. It's going to take some time. Again, like we did last week, I encourage you to have time alone, quiet time. Either listening to music with no words, something where you can get inside your head without anything else. Another thing is to share this with. Actually, we're not at the point where you need to share with anybody else. Just narrow it down, the ones that mean the most to you. I started to say, think about what does it look like to execute. So I used Zig Ziglar as an example when I was wrestling with motivate, virtue, inspire, and he was a speaker. And so for me, inspiration and my desire to be a speaker, the fact that I have spoken and my desire to do it professionally, is that's really important to me. That's what it looks like when I'm executing inspiration. I'm doing it from a stage. I'm doing it through coaching that I do. I even do it through consulting that I do in back in the marketing space. So it's really interesting to see when you start looking and go, okay, when I get this word, if I can't envision me executing my verb, then you might want to revisit that. I hope that makes sense. That makes sense, Steve?
Yeah, that follows really. That's really, really clean. We have started this little teaching process. Both of us are coaches that work with individuals and both individually and in group settings to help you go through processes like this, but also kind of break it down to where the individual place where you're stuck. But that doesn't mean that there's not value in the concepts. So what we're doing is on Mondays, we're doing the teaching. And then on Thursdays, I'm interviewing people who are in those places or have been through those places that are case studies of, how they've gone through it. I would urge you, if you've got someone that you think would benefit from this, to have them start with episode 30 and the even numbered episodes, 30, 32, 34, and now 36 are the teaching episodes in the Crossroad Diner. And so that's going to continue to be the case for the next several weeks. So the assignment, John, summarize that for us.
Yes. So in summary, use the PDF that's going to be posted. Download that, and you're going to work through words on that list as well as some you might think of that are off that list.
That was my list. I had
underlined. Steve's highlighting. However you want to do it through your process. The ones that get your heart beating, that mean something to you, and then start narrowing it down. The goal is to get to 3. Okay. Narrow it down to 3. It's going to be a challenge, but don't worry. We're not at the end of the process. We got some more steps to go. But this is a big one. This is a really big one. This is where we're really starting to kind of the rubber meeting the road, kind of, so to speak. So,
wonderful.
So that's exactly what we're doing. It's kind of like I try to do with my to-do list. List many, narrow it down to a few, do one.
There you go.
So here we are. Today we're going to list many, narrow it down to a few, choose 3.
And next Thursday on Crossroad Diner, I've got a former Marine who is talking to us. He has battled cancer. He lost his foot, then his leg, and an inspiration, if ever there was one, in his positiveness of attitude. All of the brothers in his family are over 6'4", and here is this. These are big, powerful, athletic men who have been brought to their knees by the things that happen in the world, and their value systems are clear to them. And so we will take a look at that on Thursday. Next Monday, John and I will be right back here with the next step. I'm going through his process clean so that, I'm the little guinea pig here for that stuff. And it's a really, really fascinating process. John, thanks for leading us through this today, and we'll see you next week on the Crossroad Diner.
That's good. Take care, y'all.
You've been in the Crossroad Diner, that place where your spirit goes when it might be time to change direction. Mondays, we work with powerful coaches who walk you through some of their best trainings, and on Thursdays, we visit with folks just like you who are starting or restarting a major phase of their lives. We'll see you then in the Crossroad Diner.